Welcome to How to Cook That. I'm Anne Reardon and today we're going to look at how to turn your BFF into a 3D chibi cake. Now if you look at the human figure, you have your head and then your body is about 4 heads tall, which is way too skinny to make into a normal sized cake. So what we're going to do is take our normal figure and then just shrink it down so that you notice the head is now a lot wider and a bit more round, like a baby shaped head, and one head is the height of the body rather than having 4, which is much better for a cake. I'm going to use Luna from Final Fantasy to show you how to make the chibi cake. Final Fantasy 15 A New Empire has sponsored this video and there's a link in the description below where you can download the free mobile game, so that would be great if you could click on that and do that, and I'll show you how to play it after we've made the cake. So the first thing you'll need to do is print and cut out all of your template pieces. If they're too big to fit on one sheet, they've got a little join here with crosses on there. Just join that together and sticky tape it together and cut it out. Now I want you to find this piece here. This one is showing you how the supports need to go. Luna has a big ponytail out the back of her head and there's no way a cake will be able to hold that weight. The head is already quite heavy towards the back of the cake, and if we add the weight of the ponytail, it's just going to fall off. So what we need to do is create a strong support. So we'll use a normal upright that will go straight down the middle and bolt into the cake board to hold up the head. And then we're going to need 2 cake boards in the middle. We'll have one that sits right here and another one that sits slightly to the side there to hold up those layers of cake. Then the other thing we need is something here. So the way I'm going to do that is use a picture hook that fits quite tightly over the top of my support rod, and then grab a smaller support rod and add it to the pole to support that ponytail there. Okay, put your central support through the bottom of the board and you'll notice I'm using a reasonably large wooden baseboard. You will need that with all gravity defying cakes like this to stabilize it so that it doesn't tip. Then screw a hex nut screw down to the board all the way down to the bottom and tighten that up so that that central pole is secure and it's not going anywhere. Use the template to cut out the body pieces out of cake and then all the layers for the head, and you'll find all the recipe details for the cake and the frosting and everything else on the howtocookthat.net website, and there's a link to that below the video. Once you've cut them all out, make up some vanilla buttercream and add a little bit of that buttercream around the base to hold the cake in place. Then add your first layer of cake and continue to stack up your body pieces and then check that they're the right height using the body template. Now if you look at this next bit, you have a cake board support here, and this is the view from the front, this is the view from the side. If we put that there, we have this little bit underneath. If we make that out of cake, it's just going to fall off. So what we're going to do is make that piece now on the bottom out of fondant. Wet the board so the fondant sticks, and then use your hands to flatten it down towards the edges. Now if you look at the template again, you can see it's thinner at the back and a bit more bulky at the front. So make one side a little bit flatter just using the palm of your hand. Then turn it and look at the front template and you can see it peaks in the middle. So just use the palms of your hands again to flatten it out either side so that it's coming up in the middle. Then you can check your shape is correct against the side template first and then against the front one. And that looks about right. Screw the nut down to the position of that board and add the cake board over the top and then put another bolt on top just to make it extra firm. I've covered the top of the wood in plastic and now I'm just going to add a little bit of buttercream to make the cake stick, and then make sure you pay attention to where the layer is sitting. It's not central to the support pole, it's more spaced backwards. So place the cake over the template, line up where the central rod is and make a hole there so you know where the cake sits. Then add that into place over the top. So you've got the bigger part at the back and the narrower parts are on the sides of the cake. Repeat that with the next layer and then add another nut and the next support board. Put another hex nut on top of that and tighten it up and then add your next layer of cake. Now we want to add in an angled support so we can have that rod to support the ponytail. Now, if the person you're making doesn't have a ponytail, you can leave this part out altogether. Add your angled support in and then add your next layer of cake, just making a straight cut to make it fit around that angled rod. And then keep stacking your cake up to the top. Now take your side template and line up the bottom line of it with the bottom cake board and cut around the template. Now all of the chibi characters have a very similar baby face shape, so you can use this template for whoever you're making, guy or girl, they're all very similar. Then turn the cake to the front, add the front template and trim off any little bits that are sticking out on the side. So now we've cut around this way using the front template, and we've cut this way using the side one, so that leaves the corners. They don't need much off them, just a little bit to round out the head. The other bit I need you to carve is here. This is where the eyes sit. You've got your cheeks and the eyes, and you need to flatten out the area just above the eye, only a little bit. Just take off a tiny bit on each side and don't take it off in the center where the nose is. Do the same thing to shape your body, just put the template into place and cut around it. Then you want to cover the whole cake in a layer of buttercream. Once it's all covered, use a strip of acetate to smooth the buttercream all the way round the head. Take a hemisphere mould and fill it with chocolate, and then once those are set, just push down on one side to get that out. Then using some more chocolate that's starting to set, join those two hemispheres around the support rod, and this is going to be that rounded bit of the ponytail that's sticking out at the top. Next we need to make a trident, so that has time to dry out. Put some non-stick baking paper over the top of the template and add a thick snake of yellow fondant. Then cut it at the top to match the shape on the template, and squash the base slightly and cut that too. Add 2 more snakes for the prongs of the trident on the sides, and then cut a ball of fondant in half and round it out again. It tends to get a bit squashed when you cut it, and then add those on top. Now you'll notice this doesn't look skinny like Luna's trident does in the game. I've tried to make everything chubby and cartoon-like to match the figure. Add a diamond type shape to the top too, and then use some edible pink dust to shade one side. And then you can just leave that so the fondant can dry out and go hard. Now it's time to make the little cute nose. Now you can see the shape of the cake that we cut out, and we need to make this nose shape out of fondant. Roll some fondant into a snake and flatten one end where it's going to join onto the head. And then you can just cut that nose to the right length. Turn it over and using your fingers make it into a ridge in the center so that it comes up. So if you're looking at it from one end, it should look like a triangle. Then add that into place on the cake. Roll out a rectangle of fondant and spray it lightly with cooking oil. I like to do this because I find it just gives you a bit more time to smooth the fondant onto the cake before it starts to dry out. Pick it up and carefully wrap it around the front of the cake and use the palms of your hands to smooth it around the face. Squeeze the excess together at the back and on top of the head and keep smoothing it onto the face and around under the chin. Use scissors or a knife to trim off any excess fondant. Cut around the ear template and then use your knife to round it out so you don't have any sharp cuts that you've done. Now some chibi characters have a bit more of pointed ear shape. It's up to you if you want it really pointy or if you want it more round. You can just adjust that how you like. Now it's time for the big eyes. Cut out the white of the eye and then add a snake of black across the top and trim it to the right length. If your character is a girl, you're going to want to add 3 spikes to the top for her beautiful lashes. Roll a ball of pale blue and squash it down until it matches the shape on the template. Using some food colouring, shade the top section of the eye. Then roll some really thin snakes of black, or you could use a fondant extruder if you've got one, and take one of those and wrap it around the eye so it's got like a black outline. Then take an oval of deeper blue and squash it down in the center. Now I want mine to be a bit darker blue than that, so just using gel food color, I'm going to paint over that to deepen that color. I'm also going to darken the shade at the top of the eye too. Then lift that up and place it carefully onto the white of the eye. And then it's time to add that little white dot to the eye, which is a little reflection of light that makes it look alive. You can add just one dot to each eye, or you can add a second smaller dot too. Add the eyes into place just next to the nose, being careful not to bump the blue that you just painted. Now, some things are quite hard to do when you're filming. For me, because I am filming it, I have the camera between me and the cake. I can't quite look at the cake at the angle I want to look at it on, and I am wrapping my hands around the camera, so it's a bit tricky, but I think we can do it. That'll do. There you go. Onto the brows. Roll out a snake of yellow and trim it to the size shown on the template, and then flatten that down a bit. This other black little bit here is the eye crease, and you make that exactly how we made the eyebrows. Add the eyebrows into place and the eye crease, just using a small amount of water to make them stick. At this stage, it should look like a giant baby doll like this. Now put the mouth template where it should go, and then using something rounded like the back of a paintbrush, rub on the template. And what that's going to do is it's going to make an indent into the fondant in the shape of the mouth. Remove the paper template and use it to cut out some deep pink fondant and add a strip of white across the top, and then place that back into the indent that you just made for the mouth. Awesome. Now it's time for her clothes. Obviously what you do here depends on what the person you're making usually wears. Luna's often depicted wearing a white dress, so that's what I'm putting on her today. Before I do the bottom of her dress though, I want to cover the cake board, and for that I'm just going to swirl together some white and blue fondant. Don't mix it all the way together, just swirl some together, roll it out so it's paper thin, and then put it over the board. The reason I made it super thin is so we use as little as possible, because nobody is going to eat the fondant that's on the cake board. Now roll a rectangle of white and drape it around the body, letting it hang down onto the board like it's an extra long dress. Then use the back of your paintbrush again to add creases into the dress fabric so it looks like it's swirling around. It's a really useful tool, the back of a paintbrush. They should start selling them just as back of paintbrushes. Now to make marshmallow for their hair, I'm going to use glucose syrup, butter, lemon juice, sugar, citric acid, water, gelatin sheets, and some more water. Take the gelatin sheets and place them in one at a time into that water so that they can soften, and you just want to leave them to soak. To the glucose syrup, add the citric acid, the water, and the sugar, and bring that to boil over a high heat until it reaches 113 degrees centigrade. Now, while you're waiting for that to get up to temperature, add the butter to the lemon juice and heat that in the microwave until the butter is melted. With your mixers running on low speed, pour the hot sugar syrup in and then add the soaked gelatin sheets and any water that was left in that bowl. Now, those sheets should dissolve pretty quickly into that hot liquid. Then turn your mixer onto high speed, and once it starts to increase in volume, add some food colouring to make the hair the colour that you want. Then mix in the lemon juice and butter. Then continue to beat that on high speed until the bowl no longer feels hot. It should be very slightly warm, not much at all, and it should be really whipped right up. Place that into a piping bag and pipe thick pieces for hair onto some non-stick baking paper. Keep piping lots of strands. Make sure you pipe more than you think you'll need. You can always get someone to eat the leftovers, but it's easier to do it now than it is to make another batch. Luna has a braid in her hair, so I'm going to pipe 3 long pieces of marshmallow for that. And then you can take any leftover marshmallow mixture and spread that out onto the baking paper in a flat sheet. Once that's set, you can just use it to wrap it around the head like a scarf, so it gives a sort of base colour for our hair so you can't see any skin colour under our strands of hair. Add another piece to cover the chocolate so we can't see that either, and then add the strands of marshmallow hair that you made. To get the marshmallow to stick to itself, I melted the underside of the marshmallow slightly on a hot pan and then put it where I wanted it. And then while it was setting, you need to take any weight off it just by resting the hair up on top. Once it's set, you can put that back down. The advantage of using marshmallow instead of fondant for the hair, apart from the fact that it tastes great, is you can make the hair really thick without using copious amounts of fondant. You can also easily remelt some of the marshmallow and use that to pipe on details and pattern onto the hair, which is quite nice. To make the braid, spray the marshmallow first with cooking oil so it doesn't stick to itself, and then just braid away like you would with normal hair. Once you've got that long enough, add it over the top of Luna's head and her hairstyle is complete. To make her arms, roll a cylinder of fondant and flatten it at one end for her hand. Trim it off to the right length for her fingers and split it deep for the thumb and then shorter for the fingers. Now you can make her have 5 fingers if you want, or if you want it to be a bit more cartoony, 4 fingers is the way to go. Round out each of the fingers and then add that into place and brush some pink petal dust onto her cheeks. I really like the way the marshmallow actually has movement to it, just like real hair would in the wind or in a breeze. It makes it look really different to any other cake that I've seen before. I think it turned out really well. With thanks to Final Fantasy XV and New Empire for sponsoring this video, click on the link in the description below to download the free game on your mobile. There is so much you can do in this game. I'm just going to show you a few things to get you started. You can build up your own empire and upgrade your buildings, that's all pretty self-explanatory, but if you tap on the world map down in the bottom corner, then when you're there you can find caches that you can get resources from. You can also attack other people's empires, or you can attack monsters. Just tap on a monster and choose attack once, and your troops will march over there, do a little bit of damage, and then they'll return. If you attack the same monster repeatedly, it gives you an attack bonus, and if you keep attacking it, then hopefully you'll defeat it. And then once the monster dies, you can get the stuff from the monster's lair that appears there, and there's different things you can get from there. You can also attack monsters in the proving grounds to get resources and unlock treasures. You'll need to attack multiple times just like we did on the world map, and when you win you get to choose a reward. To see what else there is to do, click on More on the bottom corner. For example, if you select your hero and then accessories, you can embed gems to power up your gear. This one increases the HP of all troops. Click on the link below to download the game and start building your empire. Subscribe to How to Cook That for more crazy sweet creations. Click here for more amazing cakes, here for the latest video. Make it a great week, and I'll see you on Friday.